Hey Ready Designer 1, let's design a dashboard UI in Figma for a space travel company. Welcome to the Ready Designer 1 channel. And why should you do this? If you work for a SaaS client, you may be asked to design a dashboard. And if you stick to the end of the video, I'm going to share some plugins to help speed up your workflow. What is a dashboard? And I've left some definitions in the Figma file, which you can find in the description below. And my own definition of a dashboard is a quick glance at key information. Who is going to use a dashboard? And this could be simply the product owner who wants to report back to the founders or to investors. Also, you can ask, is there any frequent action that they do? Because sometimes the dashboard can get very cluttered with different buttons. You also have to think about responsive in terms of the side menu, or where does the menu go, how does the table look. Got some inspiration from Dribbble, and here you can see the different dashboard designs, and you can see that there's a left side menu. You got Virgin Galactic, this is by Igor. You can see they're even accepting cryptocurrencies as well, and you got the different statuses. Here's another one by Concept Zilla for Virgin, and you can see they got like recent invoices, activities. They have a timeline and some key metrics here. Orman Clark, Lemon Squeezy, a really nice clean dashboard, and lots of inspiration can also be taken from Tailwind CSS. So I mocked up a dashboard and what content can go on there. So looking at the inspiration, we got a left side menu, we have the logo, we have certain nav items, we also have the user profile at the bottom, which they can log out, for example. And here we have the main title, we have a main CTA, which is to create a ticket. We have a menu which will let them collapse, so this is for mobile. And then we have some key information. So the business would like to know how much revenue there is for the month, how many passengers they've sent to space. These are quite important metrics. These are all assumptions as well. And then there's some activity, and this will be a table. So you've got like recent activity, you got the name, you got an avatar, you got email, what did they pay with, is it successful? And then typically at the end you have an actions. So what I've done here, I've just put in the more icon, so you could have multiple actions, maybe 3 actions. So I'm just going to have that there as an example. I just copied certain bits over because we are going to then use auto layout and just to duplicate to speed up our workflow. So here I'm just going to Command D, and we're going to start off with the nav item. So here I'm going to straight away, to be first I need to do Command dot to bring the UI back. I'm going to do Shift A for auto layout. Now the spacing, we have to think about what do we want on the right and the left. So I'm just going to say 24. Top and bottom I'm going to say 12. If I enter to go into that layer in the inside, I want that to fill container. Okay, so now we have a very simple nav item. So what I want to do now is duplicate this, let's say 6 times. So Command D, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now what I want to do is I just want to select all of them and then do Shift A. So now that's put it into a vertical layout. Depending on how yours is done, you might have it to horizontal, but just make sure you put it to vertical. And now we have a nice nav list. And then with the logo, we're going to do the same. We're going to do Shift A. Let's see what happens. Okay, and we want to follow the same convention. On the left and the right we want 24. However, on the top and bottom we want more space, let's say 40. Okay, great. And then with the name and the avatar, we do Shift and A. and we're going to leave it at 12, the spacing between. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start combining these. I'm going to combine these two. I'm going to say Shift A, and depending on your auto layout, I want this to align from the top left. Next thing I want to do is to select this or this frame and select this one by holding Shift and then do Shift A. So now we got a nice big sidebar nav. Okay, so we can just quickly call this nav. We want this to fill the height, so I'm gonna give a fixed height, and remember this will be 982. I want this to be from the left and the top, and I also want there to be spacing on the left and the right. However, this one I want there to be 0. And now what we want is we want to go into this frame which holds the logo and the nav, and I want that to fill container. So that's going to push that down. Great. So now the next thing to do is decide on the width. So I'm going to say we need a fixed width, and let's start from 96 times by 2. So let's bring this up. Let's just say, we'd be generous, let's say around 240, so it's nice and spacious. And let's give some spacing on the left and the right of 12. Okay, so this one down here, we want there to be space, so let's say also 24, but on the top and bottom we say 40, so it's got a nice big space. Okay, so now what we want to do is when you click on nav, you hit enter, and now we actually want these two to fill container, and then we hit enter again. We actually also want those to fill container, so now it's filling very nicely. However, what we don't want is this one to not fill. So if I just say fixed, we bring that back to 32. Okay, nice. Let's give this a very light grey. I'm going to say all the E's. So that will help this side elevate.
If you're finding value in this video, please hit the like button.
We are going to just select these two. We're going to do Shift and A. And the space in between that, we can say 24, for example. This one we want to create into a button, so Shift A. And we are going to fill that with black. We're going to give it a full rounded, and we are going to say on the left and the right we want a spacing of 24. If I hit enter to go in again, I actually want this to be white. Okay, so even though we just say ticket, we actually want this to be a bit more clear. What are we doing? We can say create ticket, we just put a plus sign of create, or plus, sorry. So now what we're going to do is we're going to click this item and this item with Shift, and then do Shift A for auto layout again. And what we want from there is we want that to be space between. So what we want to figure out is what width can we give this. So a bit of maths is this total width is 240 and this is 1512, so the width is 1512 minus 240, and then we can align that the top and the right, so it's nicely snugged. And now we can do some spacing. So on the top and bottom, let's say 40. On the left and the right, shall we say 24. Okay, great. Now, one thing that does happen is if we want to line things up nicely, we can go into this one and let's just put a stroke, and we only want this to be on the bottom. This is a nice new feature that Figma have done. Let's just say white. Okay, so this one you can see is not aligning. So here I'm also going to put a stroke on the bottom. Let's say all the E's. Itchy nose today. Hay fever is absolutely killing me today. So we want these to line up. And one of the reasons why, so if we go in here, this has a height of 24. If I go into the logo, this has a height of 20. So if we want things to line up, we can give this a height of 24 as well. So if I just click on there, I want this to be the same height. Okay. Now this button here is got its own, is going to have its own height. And it has, let me just check again. So this is a height of 40. So the way around that is we can give absolute positioning. But now, and we want that to vertically align, we want it to go to the right, but we want the spacing to -24. There we go. And then this one, we actually want this to be back to packed. So now you can see that this is nicely lined up because we made sure that the height of this and this is the same, and this has its own height, so we made that position absolute. So we're using quite a few of the new features from Figma that they released recently. Well, if we go back to this one, we actually want this to be bigger. Okay, so let's say 24, and we can go bold. We are going to give a line height of 100%, which means it is solid. We're going to go back to this one, and we are going to say you want that to be 20, and we also want that to be bold. And this is going to have its own auto layout, so Shift A. And on the left and the right is 20. On the top and bottom we'll say 20 as well. Well, 24 and 20. So I want to give that the same height as this, so we can say fixed 1272. I'll align that to the right. Okay. Now these, we actually want this metric to be big. This is something that we want to stand out. So let's say 72, and then we have the KPI label. So let me just go here. I also want this to be 100% line height. Okay, so I select the label. We want this to be, let's say 20. So now if I select both, Shift A, I want it to be stacked, and I actually want this to be on top. So I just hit up, and I want these to be aligned to the top left. The spacing, let's say around 8. Okay, so now we have one nice metric. Just bring that down. So what I'm going to do is duplicate this. So let's say twice, Command D, Command D, so you can see here behind my face. Let's just move my face over here. Hopefully I'm not too much in the way. So we're just going to select these. My computer is slow today. And then do Shift A. So now it is stacked it, but I want it to be horizontal. I want the spacing between everything to be, let's say 20. And the height, if I remember, the width is going to be 1272. If I hit enter, I want these to fill, so I just need to go fill container. So now it's starting to nicely space out, and for now I'm just gonna align it to the right, and then I'm gonna just bring these items down and what I'm actually going to do is I'm just going to switch off the camera because the computer is very slow, so give me a second. We just created 3 key metrics and I'm going to command D because we actually got 6, and then these 2 I want to do shift A. Great. Now the spacing between those we can say 40. So I just want to delete that because I'm going to reuse this one. So command D, bring that down. Oh, made a big difference, taking my face away. So now we got that heading, which I'm just going to align there. So now we're going to create the table. So here I'm going to say that the TH, for example, is going to be 14, and I'm just going to also say 100%. I'm going to command D that, bring it down, and also going to have that as 14 and 100%. So here I'm just going to say TH, and this will just be text. So I'm going to go here, I'm going to do shift A, and let's just leave it at 8 for now. If I then just bring it up a bit, so I want to do this 7 times, so let me just remember if it's 7 times, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7. Okay, so 7 headers, table headers. So I'm going to command D another 6 times, so 1 2 3 4 5 6. So I'm assuming that's there. This is where I should rename the frames, and then shift A. Horizontal. Okay, that's great. This one we want to also do shift A, and I'm going to do this another 6 times. So, but let's rename that to TD. So 1 2 3 4 5 6. So here we want to do shift A, horizontal. Great. So the next we want to do is we want to combine these. So let's start renaming some of these. So this is actually going to be a table row, and this is actually going to be a T head. And now we're going to combine them. So shift A, and we want to do it from the top left. We don't want any spacing, and we're going to call this table. So this is where the magic is going to happen. Now the last thing I didn't do was just grab that, and I want to replace, put it in here, and just get rid of the text. So this is where we want to combine all of these items. So I'm going to just drag and go up, and now that we've selected all of these, I want to do shift and A. So now everything is combined, and I want to say this is a fixed width of 1272. I'm going to get rid of the spacing for now, and then I want it to constrain from the left and the right. Okay, great. So another thing we want to do is we want to go in, we just want to start separating out some things. So this, we're going to rename that to header, and these items we want to combine. So shift A, select all of them and shift A. So this has a fixed width of 1272. If I hit enter, we want those to fill container. This one I want to hit enter, and I want those to fill container. If I enter again, I also want those to fill container. And if I hit enter again, fill container. So now the table is starting to take shape. And I think we are nearly there. So here, I want to hit enter and enter again. I want these to be vertically aligned. We enter again. Okay, no, that's fine. And now the spacing, we are going to replicate something similar. So let's have a think. So on the left and the right, I'm going to say 12. On the top and the bottom, I'm going to say 20. So this one here, okay, that's fine. So the whole table, I'm going to say we need a spacing on the left and right of 12. So now it's lining up since we have a spacing of 24 there. And this whole TH, I actually want there to be a background. So let's go to E, and let's say 8. So we're highlighting the T header. You could probably see we can be a bit more generous with spacing. So this is where you start playing around with spacing. So I'm going to say 24. Okay, that's better. And this is where we do a bit of grouping. So for this heading is spacing of top and bottom. Okay, so here, this whole thing, I want there to be a spacing on the bottom of 40. So now we're separating it from this. And then this one, we're going to say on the top, we want that to be 40. So now we're getting a nice clear separation. So what I'm going to do at this point is start entering some text, and I'm going to speed up this process. Okay, so just to show you quickly here, this is not filling. So the best way to do this is go to this frame, hit enter. We want to then fill container, hit enter again, and that's set to fill. Great. So just to show something here, we can create another text. So Command D. So here we can have two text items, Command D, but we want this to be vertical. And from the left, we want this to hug contents. So we probably want to do the same for the date. And then the last thing I want to do is just bring in a circle. And this is going to be the avatar 32 by 32. And now we have to combine these two, Shift A, and then this one we want to be vertical, but the spacing to be 12. And now we're probably going to need more space for the name. So this is where we can go in and we can say we want this to be a fixed width, let's say 240. we've got nice space there for the name. And we have to also do the same for this, fixed of 240. Okay. So this one we actually don't need to see the th, so we are just gonna, if I remember correctly, we are just gonna bring that to 0, and then this one we want it to align to the right. So if I can do it like that. So now what we can do is we can go to our TR, if I hit enter, I actually want that to hug contents. Okay, so if I go to TR, we want there to be a stroke on the bottom. Let's say that's ease. Okay, so now I'm just going to Command D that TR until we go out. So Command D. So I did that about 5 times. We should probably be a bit more generous with spacing. So here I'm going to go in. I'm going to say on the left and the right I want it to also be 40. So now we're really playing around with spacing. And this also has to go back to the right, but we want to minus 40. So if I try and click into here, I want that to be 40 and 40. And here I hit enter. I want it to be 40 and 40. There we go. And this one, I want that to be 40. And then the table, we can also put 40. Congratulations, because now we've created a very simple dashboard, and I'm just going to remove that border because we don't need it. I'm not going to replace all these text items, but because you've made it to the end, what we're going to do now is we're going to start replacing some of these text items with some plugins. Now this is not going to work perfectly because we got different items, but we're going to use a plugin called Content Reel, and this is going to be used to generate the avatars and the names. So this, again, this is not perfect, but what we're going to do is we're just going to click here. Now if I do Command dot, there is not a way, if I go to edit, now there's not an easy way sometimes to select the same thing. If I go with same fill, and that's quite lucky, it's going to select everything there, right? But one plugin I recommend, if I do Command // I look for simul layer, simil layer, SIMI layer. So open that up. I want to click on here. So now we got this up. I'm going to say, can we select it by the same size, and then select layers. So now it is selected, and it's not selecting in the other frames, which is good. Selecting it only on this frame. So that is the first plugin, and if I do Command /, the other plugin is Content Reel. I want to go to image, and I want a mixed avatars. So let's say this one, and I just hit apply all. So now it's randomly put in these avatars. The only downside is it's not going to match with like the name, okay, which you can fix up later on, but this is a quick way of getting avatars. So the same thing, I want to do it for John Doe. Command / simul layer. Can I do it by the content? Let's see what happens if I do it by layer name. Select layers. So now it's selected all the John Does. Command /, Content Reel. We say text, and I want the name. We say full name, apply all. So nice thing is it's generated the name, and here we should make that field container, but I think that's fine. It's naturally gone to the next line. So maybe this needs more of a width. And then with the emails, you can just copy paste the name, but I'm going to save time for that. And you can adjust some of the names if it doesn't match up the face. I think the tiny detail, let's give this a bit more space. So I'm just going to hold down shift and go, keep going up. So I'm going to say around 280. So 1512 minus 280. And we want that to align to the right. Okay. So this one is going a bit funny. So I'm just going to go in and make sure that aligns in. Well, I align it in the middle, and then Command Z, it seemed to went back in position. And this is just a very quick test. So if I were to go to begin, you can see here it is nicely being responsive. The only downside is here, but that's something you can easily do on a separate frame. So I'm going to do that. You can see here this button's not playing very well. So Command dot, let's see why that button, for some reason this is not playing nicely. It's in a different area altogether. That's interesting. So if I get rid of that, we just have to think if we have to actually put this in another frame, and then we do absolute. I want it to vertically align. So now if I try and do that, so this, let's see, can I constrain it on the left and the right? That doesn't work very well, the position absolute. That's interesting. So again, if I do that, it's not working very nice. So the absolute is not perfect, or not doing it correctly. So I'm just going to take it out. Take that out as well. Get rid of that. Let me just bring that out of there. Bring that back up. So I would say let's just leave it with a field container. We're not going to make it the exact same height as that for now. I think that's fine. And again, we're going to go here. We are going to see how this does, and it's not working. So if I go in here, we want that to field container, and we also need to make sure there's a space between. Okay, that might be why. So now you can see it's nice and flexible. So Command Z, an iPhone frame, so hit the F key, and I just want to quickly select a big one here, so 428. So I'm going to Command E that, and I'm going to just try and bring it right down. You can see that's just not going to work. Realistically, it's not going to work. So Command Z, Command Z. So what you're going to have to do is we are actually going to have to hide the nav layer. This is going to have to be from the left. These are going to have to get smaller. So I'm going to say these around, let's say 24. So now we want these to be vertically stacked. So hit enter. I'm going to say like this, and I want that to be hug contents. So for some reason it is not doing it. So if I go to frame 21, hit enter again, I want that to be hug, and I want that to fill. Okay, so what that means is we have to go back and we need there to be a spacing. Let's just say 16, let's say 20. Same with this one, we're going to 20. So I think these spacing of each of those, if I go on the main frame, hit enter, I'm going to say 4. So these are more tighter, or let's even say 0. So those look like they're grouped. So same for this, hit enter, I'm going to say 0. So now I'm going to just bring this down, and you can see the table's not right. So what normally happens, so as an example, on Tailwind CSS on a mobile, the user has to just horizontally scroll. There will be an overflow X on the table. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to make that table not fluid anymore. We're going to say fixed. But here, let's see if we can go to, so here we're going to just bring it down. So that is not going too well. So if I go into the whole frame, we want that to, we want that to be a fixed width of whatever the frame is. So 1510. So let's just say 1510. And then the frame, if I just bring it down, okay, great. So now going all the way down to the height or the width of this one, which is 428. Okay. So here I'm going to go 428. I need to clip content, and I also need to remove the fill of the frame. And if I just resize it like this, don't resize it actually, go to the frame, I want that to be white. Okay, nice. So now we can adjust some spacing, so I'm going to go in here and I'm going to say from the left and the right we're going to be 16, and the top and bottom 20. Okay, so we are just adjusting some spacing. Same for all of these. Hit enter. I want it to be 16. This one as well. Let's say 16 and 16. So this is the nice thing about auto layout. So July, these are the metrics. For this one we say 16. For the table we also say 16. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. Keep an eye out for the next video, because I'm going to share a project that I did for the Webflow party, and it's the F1 challenge.